Hi everyone, this is Migs from Sneaks and Ball PH, and today we have a detailed review on the Nike Kobe 6 Protro Playoff Pack. Before we get started, if you do like this video, please make sure to leave a thumbs up down below. Then if you have any comments, questions, or any suggestions for future videos, please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below as well. Then I'll also leave a link to the SNBPH Sneaker Hunters Facebook group down in the description box. So I do hope that you'll be able to join because that is a place where we talk about sneakers and basketball quite a lot, and it's also where I hold my monthly giveaways. Then if you haven't already yet, please make sure to subscribe because it really does help us out here at the channel quite a lot. So with that out of the way, let's take a look at the Nike Kobe 6 Protro Playoff Pack, or as others like to call it, the White Del Sol. White Del Sol is technically the official colorway name of this Kobe 6 colorway. However, a lot of people did get used to calling these the Playoff Packs or the POPs or Pops because this was a colorway that Kobe ended up using quite a lot in the 2011 NBA playoffs. Then speaking of the 2011 playoffs and the 2011 NBA season, I do remember Kobe rocking these in the 2011 NBA playoffs, and though I wasn't really a Lakers fan at the time, it was kind of an interesting storyline to kind of follow the whole season on whether Kobe and the Lakers could achieve a three-peat for the first time since, Kobe and Shaq did it in 2000 to 2002. But in the end, Kobe and the Lakers just ran into a scorching hot Dallas Mavericks team that swept them in the second round and would go on to win the championship after beating Miami's Big Three. That was definitely one of the crazier postseasons we've had because, we had the Lakers vying for a three-peat and getting swept by the Mavs. You had the Spurs, who were the number 1 seed in the West, getting beaten in 6 games by the 8-seeded Grizzlies. And in the East, you had Miami's Big Three, who seemed like they were destined to win a championship, but ultimately also losing to Dirk and the Dallas Mavericks. Then going back to the shoe in particular, I am happy that Nike decided to Protro these because they are, in my opinion, one of the cleanest Kobe 6 colorways. You of course had a lot of bright and colorful colorways of the Kobe 6 that came out, like the Grinches, you had the Sunset 6s, you had the Think Pinks, the 3D colorways like the 3D Hollywood. You also had colorways like this, which were a little bit more muted and a little bit more plain looking, but definitely very clean as well. Then even though I am happy that this colorway released, I was kind of surprised that after the All-Stars, this was the next one, because I really expected the next colorway to be the Think Pink Kobe 6s, which I think should have dropped in Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and Breast Cancer Awareness Month already passed, and still no sign of the Kobe 6 Protro Think Pinks. That was quite a big bummer because I was really waiting on those, especially since I lost my mom to breast cancer, so that colorway kinda had a really big meaning to me. But hopefully they still do release those Think Pink Kobe 6 Protro soon. But all things considered, I'm definitely not mad that we have the White Del Sols, because like I said, it's a simple and clean and timeless colorway that really just brings to mind a visual of Kobe in those Lakers jerseys, getting buckets and torching the opposition in this colorway. Then moving on to the tech specs on the Kobe 6 Protro, here on the outsole you have that signature snake scale traction pattern, which in my opinion is right up there with the best of the best. In my experience, this traction just grips everything, whether it's a clean court, a dusty court, a well-maintained court, or a court that hasn't been waxed in forever. No matter what the situation I found myself in, this was definitely one of those shoes where you could just trust it with the traction, and with this colorway it seems no different. The one difference though with this White Del Sol colorway compared to the Grinches as well as the All-Star Kobe 6s is that it does have an all-solid rubber outsole. The Grinch colorway of the Kobe 6 Protro did have translucent on half of the outsole, and the All-Star colorway on the other hand had a full translucent outsole. It really didn't seem to make much of a difference because I think the strength of the traction on the Kobe 6 is the pattern and the rubber compound. So whether you get this colorway with the all-solid rubber outsole or one of the 2 previous colorways that had translucent rubber, you're gonna be good to go on any court. Then for the durability on the outsole, this still isn't a pair that I would really recommend if you play outdoors a lot, but it also isn't terrible since that rubber isn't too soft. So if you were to take these outdoors occasionally, I think they would still hold up. But if you make these your everyday outdoor shoe, then just don't expect them to last too long. Then for the cushion, I have loved the cushion setup on the Kobe 6 Protros ever since the Grinch colorway released, because you have a full-length Cushlon midsole as well as a Zoom Turbo unit in the forefoot. That Zoom Turbo gives you a lot of bounciness and responsiveness, and that Cushlon on the other hand just gives you that plushness and that comfort as well as superb impact protection. The setup as a whole does give you a lot of comfort and quite a lot of bounce back as well, but you also still feel pretty low to the ground. Can't really go wrong with a cushion like this because I just think it's perfectly balanced, and whether you're a guard, a wing, or a big man, I think there's no going wrong with a cushion on the Kobe 6 Protro. Then for the materials, the main body of the shoe from the forefoot to the midfoot is made up of that very thin and comfy micro mesh, but of course you have those signature polyurethane snake scales on top for added structure and durability. It's definitely definitely not a premium material like a leather or some knit, but it really works well on court because it's nice and thin and minimal, while still having good structure and support. Then for the other materials, you do have this smooth white synthetic leather on the heel tab, as well as here on the top of the tongue. Then you have your external plastic heel counter, a nice and sculpted textile sock liner with a little bit of padding, and of course my favorite Nike Torch tongue. Can't really stress this enough, but for every Kobe 5 and Kobe 6 video, I have been raving about the Nike Torch tongue, and how I really wish that Nike still put this on their shoes today, because in my opinion, it's such a perfect way to make the tongue nice and padded, while still having tons of airflow. Then for fit and sizing, I did go true to size with the Nike Kobe 6 Protro, and it fits me perfectly well. Kinda gets floated around quite a bit that if a shoe has good fit, it fits like a Kobe, and with the Kobe 6, it is quite evident why they say that a lot, because it really fits exactly 1-to-1. It has a nice and sculpted heel, and that forefoot really just rests comfortably on the top of your toes, and the lockdown overall is superb as well. You also have that added benefit of that insole that kinda molds to your foot, and it really does mold to your foot, so if you do feel like the fit isn't the way you want it or it's a little bit tight at first, then just continue playing in these or walking around and breaking these in. Then pretty soon after the break-in process, you're gonna have a shoe that fits you perfectly. My recommendation for the sizing is that if you have a narrow foot or a normal width foot, definitely go through the size. Then if you have a wide foot, the Kobe 6 is just slightly narrow, so your best bet is to go up half a size. Then for the aesthetic details, here on the outsole, it does have a two-tone look with that yellow del sol on the forefoot and midfoot, and this light gray at the heel. And by the way, if you're wondering why they're called the white del sol, it's because they're predominantly white, and the accent color is del sol, which is Spanish for sun. And lastly, on the rest of the outsole, you do have that carbon fiber midfoot shank and a black Kobe logo here at the heel. Then moving on to the midsole, that cushion is all black. Then on the heel, you do have Nike Zoom branding, which is still kind of confusing because with this Protro version, the zoom is no longer in the heel. You also have that yellow rubber that comes up here at the forefoot, and you have some Kobe code on the lateral side, and you have Phenomenon embossed on the tip of the toe. Then moving on to the upper, the entire base of the shoe is this immaculate white. So you have white on that micro mesh at the forefoot and midfoot, white on the Nike Torch tongue, white on the laces, and white on the synthetic leather here at the heel and the top of the tongue. Then you also have black on the shoe with this Kobe logo here at the top of the tongue, your Nike swooshes on the lateral and medial side, and that shiny plastic heel counter. The heel counter is actually one of my favorite details on the shoe because it is a little bit of a shiny black, but if you look closely, it does have a little bit of glitter underneath as well. On that heel counter, you do also have a golden yellow Kobe signature, and for that touch of del sol yellow on the upper, you actually just have it here on the sock liner and back of the tongue, as well as the insole. Then for the last aesthetic detail, those polyurethane scales on the upper actually aren't white, but actually it has this really light gray color that looks super nice in person. Then for the overall aesthetics, this Kobe 6 Protro white del sol is just one of the simpler but also one of the cleanest colorways of the Kobe 6. We have had the all-red Kobe 6 All-Stars as well as the all-neon green Kobe 6 Grinches, and those are definitely pretty loud and they're pretty head-turning as well. But it's nice that we now have the white del sols, which I think a lot of people will agree with me are a lot more wearable. Since it doesn't have a lot of wild colors going on, it just has a lot of white, a little bit of black, a little bit of yellow, and some light gray as well. If I were to compare the three Kobe 6 Protro colorways that released so far, I think I would definitely put these over the Kobe 6 All-Stars, but in my opinion, it's still not as good as the Kobe 6 Grinches. But that is only my opinion, so please do leave your comments down below on how you would rank the three Kobe 6 Protro colorways that have released so far. Then for the price, the Nike Kobe 6 Protro retails for 8,795 pesos here in the Philippines, or $180. I've said this from the beginning, but the Kobe 6 Protro actually has a pretty good price, all things considered, because the Kobe 6 already was a top-tier performance basketball shoe when it released in 2011, but now we have it with some upgraded cushion, and now in 2021, you can kinda consider it a modern classic as well. So the mere fact that it's cheaper than the current LeBrons, most Jordan Retros except for the Jordan 1, you do get a really good and classic shoe for $180. The only unfortunate thing is a lot of resellers still did manage to scoop a lot of pairs up, so it definitely did sell out, but the good news is that as of the moment, the resale prices aren't too bad, because I see pairs that are being sold for like 1,000 to 2,000 pesos above retail, or around $20 to $40 over retail. I do think that just like the Kobe 6 All-Stars, the resale prices on these will start to go down after a while, so if you weren't able to get these for retail, I would advise you to sort of wait for a bit, so that if you do end up getting these from the resale market, the prices are as close to retail as possible. I did actually get 2 wins on the white Del Sol Kobe 6s because I won a raffle over at Nike Park, and I won another pair on Titan On Demand, but I ended up getting mine from Titan On Demand because they ship a little faster, and I just allowed one of the members of the SNBPH Sneaker Hunters Facebook group to scoop up the other white Del Sols for retail. So there you have it, guys. That was my detailed review on the Nike Kobe 6 Protro Playoff Pack. Once again, if you haven't already yet, please make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon for notifications. It would help us out a lot. Here's Sneaks and Ball, PH.